Hey everyone, it's Courtney Luna. I am joined today by Lily Rubio. We are doing a little collaboration, so you will see this video on both of our channels, but we are going to be talking about carnivore kids, animal-based kids, all that, what we eat, what we feed our kids, our struggles, and also some ways that you can help your kids eat this way. So, for those that don't know me, I'm Courtney Luna. I am a 1 year carnivore and I have healed so many health benefits by eating this way. And one of the big topics I get asked about is my kids. So, I'm excited to dive into this topic with you guys. Lily, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm Lily Rubio, and Courtney and I kind of met when she was starting carnivore and I had just started the animal-based diet. And we're both like meat-based diets, but I include fruit, honey, well, now I've even evolved a little bit more, kind of just eating more ancestrally. But I'm also about to complete a year. I cannot believe that a year went by, and I have healed lifelong stomach issues by eating this way. So for me, there's no going back. And we're excited to share with you. This is a topic I think that when you have little ones, you're going to have an advantage. You can start your kids young with some of these, with just better nutrition choices, or just, but I'm coming from the standpoint that I have like a teenager, I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and we were definitely not eating like this before. So it's been more of a struggle for me, but it's also been just really cool to see how the family has transitioned and how we are eating animal based, but they just don't know it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is, I feel like harder when you have older kids because you have less control, especially when they're out of the house without you. Like, I feel like that's where education comes into play. So you can like really teach them like what the nutrition's doing to their body or lack thereof. If you have an ice cream cone, like how that is going to make you feel. So how do you guys eat? Like, are your kids strictly animal based? Do they have other things that what's a typical day look like?
Yeah. So like I said, we were not eating like this. However, I did grow up very aware of ingredients. My kids know that we're reading labels, and I do my best, no high fructose corn syrup, no red dye 40. But my kids are still like, they're always like, Mom, it's not something that they are just like on board with and love it. If anything, they kind of feel like I can be over the top a little bit. I have toned back a little bit because I will be honest, for me, a lot of it, I do want to educate my kids and teach them good nutrition, but I also don't want to give them issues with food. I don't want my kids thinking like, oh, that's bad for me, that's good for me. And so, what I have been doing is I teach them more like kind of macros, not counting macros, but just like, do you have protein on your plate? Where's your fat? Where's your fruit? And I make them look at nutrition in that way. If my son just, makes a toast or whatever it is, I give them sourdough bread. I buy it from the bakery. I will say, well, what's your protein on that? Just to get them thinking. So I'm teaching them about like kind of having that balanced plate with protein, fat, and good carbs. And so the way that we're eating right now, I would say it's like 75% animal base, because I do like my kids. Another thing that people don't realize is the peer pressure with food. I mean, it happens with adults too, but like my kids ask me, beg me to buy them Takis, like because it's like the cool food. All the kids are eating the Takis. And so, of course, 9 out of 10 times I'm saying no. But then there's the times that I'm like, fine, get the Takis. And then they don't even finish the bag. They're gross. I throw it away and I'm like, all right, they got that out of their system. So that's kind of how we do it. I still give them opportunities to eat the foods that they like. I just try to make better choices. So, what I realize though, when my kids are nourished, they are not snacking. When I'm giving them whole foods, I used to, like a few years ago, I had to always have all of the snacks around because my kids were constantly snacking. Now it's like they want a snack, they're doing yogurt with fruit. That's like right now, that's like the go-to in the house, like a vanilla yogurt that I mix up with maple syrup, vanilla. That's what they're having. And so, those are the kind of snacks that they're having. But breakfast, we're doing like eggs, mostly eggs, a ton of butter for the kids. And I'll do like a sourdough bread or eggs and bacon for them. That is their breakfast almost every day. Or I'll make French toast with the sourdough bread, the eggs. Again, they have a lot of eggs, lots of butter. That's their fat. My little one doesn't eat avocado, but I give him a ton of butter, so that's like his good fat there. For lunch, I'm just really big on homemade meals. We're Hispanic, so I'm like I try to make all those Hispanic foods that they love homemade. Like that's how we grew up. My abuela would cook, my mom would always cook for us too. And so, try to do very little processed foods. And so three like whole meals that I'm making from scratch for me, it's just really meaningful. And I gotta say that, I can say that with pride now, but I have definitely gone through my ebbs and flows. There was time where I was just giving them like Easy Mac and, things like that. But I really decided that I wanted to be more intentional about their nutrition. And I've really been making an effort and it feels really good. Feels really good.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that sounds awesome. And, I feel like just being aware and trying to make better choices is, probably doing better than the majority of the people out there. I mean, some of that food that's out there, and, I used to eat it and serve it too. And now that we know better, it's like, oh my gosh, like that's not even food. And it's coming from a place of, I don't want to say like laziness, but like convenience, or
Convenient.
will give it to them because they don't want to battle and they don't want to have their kids like talk back and argue, so they just give them the stuff that they know they'll eat, even though it may not benefit them. So I love what you're doing. I think we have a similar approach to like this topic actually. Like I'm feeling a little clammy right now. I've never totally come out and talked about what my kids eat because I do get so much hate. And
Yeah,
I
I've
already
seen
get
that.
the comments about my kids like, oh, we should call CPS. You're poor children. You're going to give them an eating disorder. So I've been hesitant to really share what we're doing because I don't want to get the backlash. But
Yeah.
you know what? I'm not going to share this on TikTok. So that will be a big,
Yeah.
thing right there. So, I mean, we kind of do the same thing. My kid, while we eat a carnivore diet, my kids are not strict carnivore. That's mostly like my thing and my mental thing. I don't know. I struggle with this every day. Honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with kids having a carnivore diet. I think that would be great. But we do some things that aren't carnivore. So my kids do have fruit. But even that, I try to minimize because I see them like being addicted to the sugar in it. Like they always want fruit. And it's like, okay, well, you can't just have fruit, like kind of what you're doing. Like, okay, let's have some protein with it. And mine are 2 and 5. And so luckily, I have complete control over what they're eating essentially. And luckily
Yeah.
they love meat. Thank gosh, like they love meat. So it's
Yeah.
not
So do my
too
kids.
much of a battle. Yeah, but it's like they also know these other foods exist. So there is some pushback. But I try to do like just kind of control what we can at home. That way, if we do go out, it's not that big of a deal. So at home, it's very minimal sugar, pretty minimal on the carbs and starches too. We do get sourdough bread a friend makes. So they have fruit, they have lots of meat and eggs and dairy. I'm trying to think like the other things I would buy really is like we get these rice sticks, and that's pretty much that. And the sourdough bread is the only like grains that they have.
Yeah.
They do eat Lara bars, which again I have to like control, and because it's like sugar, it's the sweetness. They love that.
Yeah.
So I try to just be very, teach them what they're doing. Like my little 2-year-old, she'll eat her steak and she'll be like, oh, look at my muscles. So we also
Yeah.
talk about the macros, and like the protein is, good for your muscles and the fat is good for your brain. And so we try to just like instill all that education in them and find that balance of not wanting to, I don't know, make them want to go to a friend's house when they're older and binge on all the junk food.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my struggle is trying to feed them as healthy as possible without causing issues when they do go out on their own And like that's my battle, and I hope I'm not screwing them up.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I honestly, like, I would love to see, being that you're starting your kids so young, how that experience is going to go for you. I mean, for me, it's a battle I can't win. I honestly, when it comes to outside of the home, I I let the kids, like, again, this is my diet, not theirs. That's how I kind of look at it. And I'm doing this for health reasons because I had, stomach issues, that because mainly I found that it was the vegetables. Once I cut out all of the raw veggies that I was eating on a daily basis, tons of salads, tons of raw vegetables, veggies most was my motto. Once I cut that out, my entire world changed. So for me, even maybe looking at them like for their specific health needs, like, I just, I don't know. I don't want to give my kids any issues around food. And I know realistically when they go out, like, I also don't want them to be like the weird kids, like packing their snacks or whatever. So I just, or, saying, no, my mom doesn't let me have that. Like, to me, in my opinion. So, and we could even have opposing opinions and we'll just see, like what people are resonate with. But because this is my way of eating, I'm not gonna necessarily push it, but I am gonna be very conscious. I'm reading the labels. If I could pick one that has 4 ingredients rather than the 10 ingredients, that's what I'm gonna pick. And that's the battle that I'm fighting with my kids, of just like getting better ingredients. And for right now, like I said, I'm not buying nearly as many snacks as I used to. My kids do like cereal. Oh, this is a whole nother topic, is the spouse. I have found like it's easier when your spouse, like my spouse still wants to eat cereal. So he's bringing it in the home. The kids are going to want cereal. So for me, it's been a very big challenge. However, my kids eat what I make them. And that's why for me, I have to be very intentional, and I'm going to make their meals. And I do a big lunch when they come home. It's usually like we do white rice. So they have their white rice. They will have like a meat, a fruit, and like, or whatever, just like rice and a meat. And I just make sure that they're getting home cooked meals. And so that's just kind of like, it is a big struggle for me. And I think it's baby steps. I think it's less and less, you stop. If we're going to fast food 5 days a week, now just go 3, then 2, then none, then once a month, and that's just kind of how you have to tackle it when your kids are older, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And like baby steps too. I mean, if you're going from a standard American diet, then immediately making a switch, like that can be a lot. And maybe your family needs to be eased into it a
Yeah,
bit.
your kids will hate you. My family's already complained. They already complained, but I'm just kind of ignoring them. But they have said, Mom, we don't want burgers anymore. And I'm just like, well, how about minced meat then? I'll just like switch it up. But they're like, we're over this. So that was very challenging. But you know what I found? That at one point they told me that they're tired of my meals, and so I just switched it up for a few days and then kind of just went back to it. I gave them like a little break, like maybe made more chicken instead of the burger patties that I was making every day. And then that did just kind of like, okay, they were good with their chicken, and then we came back to, so switching it up, variety for them.
Yeah, and I feel like even what can be helpful is variety at one meal. So instead of making your protein into side dishes, maybe you make actually like 3 different animals. Or like what I would do is like we'll do burger patties, but I'll also do some bacon and then some like cheese or something. Because I could easily
Yeah,
sit there and just eat a burger patty constantly. And my kids
me
do that
too.
often. Yeah, my kids do that often, but I feel like they're more receptive and excited when there's multiple options during that one meal. But mostly I'll do that like at dinner, and lunch is simple and breakfast is like a yogurt or whatever and some eggs. So yeah, that's another thing we can talk about. I did ask on Instagram what people are struggling with, and I have
Okay.
a nice little chunk of things. So we can start off with school lunches. So if they're buying the school lunches, that's the whole other thing. But what can they bring? So this goes with another one, like cold room temp lunch ideas, anything that you can send with your kid to school that would be easy, that they would like and eat. Do you have any suggestions for that?
I would be a hypocrite to talk about school lunches. And your kids aren't necessarily in school, are they? The 5-year-old is,
We do homeschool, but I do pack
yeah.
them a lunchbox for things. So I do have some ideas.
Yeah,
Do
go
your
ahead
kids
and give
eat?
your ideas because again, back to the peer pressure. My kids, no, mom, it's not cool to have a lunchbox. So my 13-year-old, it was not cool. He is eating at school, but guess what? My kids don't even like I feed my kids get a big breakfast before school. I'm doing eggs, bacon. So sometimes, a lot of times they're like, "Oh no, mom, I barely ate, at school." So they're kind of like not really doing the lunches, or if they do, it's whatever they pick off of the plate. The school lunches are sad. Honestly, it is something that I have to put my blinders on because the food is nasty, but my kids really care about like the embarrassment of having a lunchbox. And so I'm not going to, fight with my kids. They go through phases. Sometimes I will say, "Do you want me to put the rice with the extra leftover steak?" And if we have a really yummy meal, and they'll tell me yes. And so I feel it out, and I try to cook things that maybe they could take. But overall, I just got like I've got pushback on that. So I just kind of like let that one go. When they're in my home, they're gonna get my home cooked meals.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, it's you've got to weigh the balances of what, pick your battles and stuff. And if they're having an awesome breakfast and an awesome dinner and they're eating
Yeah,
something
lunch
that,
and dinner. When they get home, I feed them.
yeah. So I mean, I feel like there's worse things. Not to like knock other people, but I'm sure there's kids that are eating the school lunch and also having like Fruit Loops for breakfast and probably not a great dinner either. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
any improvements is better than zero for sure. So some ideas I should have like wrote this down, looked over this ahead of time, but so I'll just rattle off a few things that come to mind. We do a lot of like meat sticks. This all depends, like if you have an ice pack to keep things cool or whatever.
Yeah.
Shelf stable things are great too. But meat sticks, my kids love pork rinds, any sort of cheese sticks, fruit, of course. Turkey roll up. So like take some deli turkey, roll it with some cheese and mayo, bacon, hard boiled eggs, all that is good cold. And I love cold bacon. That doesn't need to be reheated. That's all I can think of off the
Yeah,
top of
no,
my
and
head.
those are great because honestly, I've even noticed kids, especially school age kids, they are socializing. If you ever go and like go to the cafeteria and have lunch, the amount of food that gets wasted it's really sad and unfortunate. You see those kids trays full of food and they just like pick at stuff because they're busy. That's their chance that they can finally talk and be loud. And so I have even noticed like a lot of these kids are not even really eating all of the food. So even being mindful of like when you pack your kids food, you could see what they ate, what they didn't eat. But when we go like to the beach and I do pack, we'll do things like that. Like we'll do the pork rinds. I buy these plantain chips cooked in coconut oil. They love that. Um, we'll do a lot of fruit, tons of fruit, like to take out to the beach. Um, the turkey roll-ups, yeah, like sandwiches like that. I've even done little meatballs, like just doing kind of like I guess a meat stick, but like meatballs, cheeses. Um, Sometimes I'll even do like little sushi rolls that I make here with like white rice and salmon in there, and they love that too.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, that all sounds great. Um, a few other things. Okay, someone else was saying how to deal with school and outside forces, which also links to a split household. So, I mean, it's the same thing as, that like when I'm like losing my thoughts now, but it's kind of like what you can control when they're at your
yeah,
house. And then that's when the education comes into play. So when they are at school and they're having the school lunches or they're at their, biological other parent's house,
yeah.
that hopefully, you can't control what that parent is serving them, but maybe your kids can make good decisions on what they're being offered there, hopefully.
Yeah, honestly, again, I'm coming from, I gotta be real, Courtney. Like a lot of the influencers that I follow in this space, like they don't even have kids. And so for me, I feel like they don't understand my struggle. And that's why maybe my point of view here, like it may sound like I don't know. Like I'm coming from the place that like I have a teenager. This is my diet, not theirs. I don't want to give my kids issues with food. And the truth is, if your kids are socializing, if they're going to parties, like all we can do is do the best that we can in the environments that we can control. I don't think it's worth it to start a fight with the other parent. Like, you know that we don't feed them that. Like, if that's what that parent is choosing to feed the kid. I mean, unless there's allergies or the kid really has like a weight problem and that parent is just being irresponsible or whatever it is. Like I just think that we that this particular area, you know, we do the best that we can. We teach them the best that we can, but I'm not trying to give anybody food issues, and I'm not trying to like, you know, get gray hair, stressed out, controlling every little thing that my kids eat. I do the best that I can. You know, learning how to make things from scratch. I've just been like playing around with that. I make these corn tortillas out of like masa harina, organic masa harina flour, and it's literally water and the corn mix, and I make them their homemade tortillas. So then when I send that to them with some beef and some cheese, like they love those things. So I could like even send them off if I needed to with these foods that I'm making for them. But this is my opinion, that I just don't think that, I think control what you can control. That's all I'm gonna say. So I
Yeah,
would love
and
to
try
hear
not
your thoughts.
to stress about the rest. And also at this
Yeah.
age, they're metabolically flexible. So this might not affect them like it would somebody else. So yeah, I mean, pick your battles and we're all just doing the best we can for sure. A few other things were snacks and finger foods. I feel like I kind of just rattled that off with
Yeah.
school lunches. It's all kind of just snacky foods.
Yeah, we'll do guac too. So my kids will do like avocado. I love like a good charcuterie board. My kids, if I put that out, and I've just been learning to do things like just like I'll have the fruit instead of the crackers, you know, so they'll have like the cheese, the prosciutto or whatever. So a charcuterie board is just fun to just have out like that. The kids love it. That's another like big thing that we'll do when it's time for like snacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes it more fun. And that kind of also makes me think of just having things like family style and just having a big
Yes.
platter with a bunch of different stuff and everyone just shares that plate and they grab what they want. And it makes it a little bit more festive. Like I remember when I mean, once in a while my kids will have noodles, but this was like before carnivore. I made them noodles with like a meat sauce and I put parchment paper down on their little table and I just dumped all the pasta like on the table. And they thought it was so fun that they weren't eating off plates. So
Yeah.
just something like that, you know, family style on a big platter kind of
Oh
shakes
yeah,
things up a little
we're
bit.
big on that. We're big on that. Like just I love the putting it on my wood board and everyone just picks at stuff. You know, we'll put olives, avocado, I'll do cheeses, jams. They love that stuff.
Yeah, that's perfect. So the last two are kind of similar. It's getting toddlers to eat meat, and another one is their kid only eats nuggets or like things with hidden meat. And it's so funny because I feel like this is such a different conversation than I would have had a year ago, where a year ago it'd be like, oh, how can I hide veggies in any and everything? How can I
Oh,
put
same,
spinach in
same.
the sauce? Or yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess like meal ideas for toddlers, like yeah, you can make, you know, healthified chicken nuggets. Just bread it with some egg and pork rinds. Like those are great. Making meatballs. Trying to
Yeah,
think
I've
just
done a
different
version
finger.
of chicken fingers. You get chicken and you put an egg in there and cheese, and then you make them into little balls and
Okay.
you put them in the air fryer. So I think they're called like the keto chicken nuggets. And those
Okay.
keto chicken nuggets, I need to perfect it. I made it twice and my kids didn't love it. But I see people like in the reviews like, oh, my kids tear these up or they're delicious. So I don't know. I think maybe I used like, sorry, I used cooked chicken that was already shredded. I don't know. I need to experiment, but I've done it a few times. I just like honestly, I wonder if for us like eating meat as babies, like that was just never an issue. Like Latinos are making a picadillo, we're having our pork, like it was just never an issue in our household, like issues with the kids eating. We're big like steak lovers, so they would get their little steak bites, you know, cutting them really small. But the question was, how do you get your kids to eat more meat?
Yeah, and my only thought would be like just exposure. I remember when you first start feeding your kids, they're like, "Oh, it takes like 10 exposures to broccoli for them to like figure out if they
Yeah,
like it or not." So I would say just keep serving it. This sounds so bad. Like if they're hungry, they'll eat it, but eventually, like maybe they just need to adjust and they will eat it and hopefully learn to love it. I mean, my kids love any meat that I'm making and they get excited and make them be part of the process. Like mine likes to like, put the salt on or help hold my hand while I'm flipping it over on the grill, like help them have them be a part of it. I think they're a little more
yeah,
excited to sit down and eat it.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think getting them involved, my son is like the 13-year-old. He sees recipes on TikTok and he will come and make them. And I think that he's just getting inspired by, you could even like watch different cooking videos with your kids or just to get them excited to eat different stuff and to experiment. But as far as eating meat, obviously the size matters, small little bite-sized pieces, perhaps some kind of like dipping sauce. I'm just really big on like butter on everything. So like make it delicious with butter, salt. We do a lot of lime. I actually love getting my burger patties and dipping them. Like my ketchup is lime and it's so delicious. And all I use is sea salt to season mine, but I buy this delicious meat from Whole Foods. It's pasture raised, so good. It leaves like a crispy, salty crust, and I dip that in lime, and it is so good. So I would try like lime, butter, to get your kids to like, especially steak. Like lime is a big one. Like I use lime a lot for that. Chicken legs, if they're not eating their chicken breast, give them a chicken leg and they might really like that. Chicken legs in the air fryer. Um, just it's delicious. I know my kids love that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's better than chicken breast. To me, chicken breast like needs a sauce. You're not getting a lot of
Yeah,
fat
I
on that.
never.
But
Yeah,
that's
I
another
do not
thing.
enjoy.
Make some sauces, make a
Yeah,
cheese sauce, like just do some cream and some milk or some, cream cheese with cheese and, maybe some things like that where they can dip or just to change up
yeah.
the like flavor profiles and textures. Another thing we love is like this is more snacks, but pork rinds dipped in sour cream. That's like our new discovery,
I
and
love
it
that
is
too. Yes,
best.
and a little hot sauce for me. I'll do like hot sauce, cream, and the pork rind. It's really good. Or lime. Try lime on that pork rind. Get the
Okay.
pork rind, lime, and those and the oh, I don't know. I guess you don't do lime, but lime is really yummy. The kids would love it for sure.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
go ahead.
go I was just gonna say, overall, it really is. I know it can be so stressful. Like, trust me, I wish that my whole family ate like this. I wish that my husband like didn't tell me like, oh babe, you want to go here? And I'm just like, okay. Like it is a struggle. For me, I am really struggling because I am the only one in my household. And so it is hard when the family wants to go out for pizza. And I'm like, okay, I'll order the meatballs while we're there. But then after a while, it does it just makes it more difficult, But at the end of the day, I really try to focus on the foods that make me feel my best and looking at food from that standpoint. Like, am I gonna feel my best if I have this pizza or if I stick to like just get a yummy steak? If they're gonna splurge on pizza, well, I'm gonna go buy a ribeye. And that's what I'll do, like splurge on my cuts of meat because I would much rather have like a nice fatty picanha than some pizza. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think that trade-off of like treating yourself, if the family wants to treat themselves, well then you treat yourself too to like something delicious that you know is going to make you feel good.
Yeah. Or, find substitutes. Like for those watching this on Lily's channel, like my specialty is coming up with recipes and doing food for this way of eating. So you can make like a carnivore or animal-based pizza. There are breads we use. I have this batter that I use for everything. I just made them waffles. We had waffles this morning with it, and I just made them a quesadilla on my waffle cone iron to get it like really thin. So and pork rind cereal sounds absolutely disgusting, but it's so delicious. Even my kids love it. Can even put some cinnamon on it. So there are
Oh,
substitutes
that's a good
for
idea.
all these different foods that you may be used to. I mean, I have a really good pizza recipe that really just hits the spot. It sounds so weird, but it's like a chicken crust And so like I
Yeah,
feel like anything you're missing, there's gonna be a
there's a
carnivore
substitute.
animal based recipe out there to give you what you're looking for. And
For
crackers.
sure. And I like that. And honestly, one thing that we just want to like kind of just get out there is that it is going to take more effort, guys. This isn't pulling up through the drive-through and just getting like the convenience factor. It is like it gets easier, right? Because you have your go-to recipes, but it is going to take a little bit more effort, but it's worth it because you're going to just start it will become second nature for you to just eat like this, to just whip up these quick recipes really quick, like to make the waffles. Like, what do you do? Like, you crack egg with like the cheese
I do pork
or
rind,
the pork
egg,
rind?
butter, and I use it for everything. I make chips, crackers, waffles. I'm making a waffle cone so my kids can have carnivore ice cream when they're waffle cone. Like I use this
Yeah,
damn batter for everything. It's
for everything.
a little
But see,
crazy.
and I love the fact that we're using whole ingredients, simple ingredients. Like, if nothing else, that just makes me feel so good. I get my satisfaction from knowing that I'm giving my kids homemade meals made from scratch. And like I said, you don't have to have 10 homemade meals, but if you can just have your signature three that you can whip up for your kids, and I promise you, it's just as like, I don't know, sometimes if you're gonna like heat something up in the microwave or whatever, like you could make it from scratch easily. You can batch cook, whatever you need to do. But I think that one thing that I love about the animal based eating, like meat based eating, is just the simplicity of it. Like, how wonderful is it that I just have to cook up two burger patties and I'm good to go, Like, I do love that. And trust me, I am a big foodie. All of my plates used to be filled with color and variety, but I still get great satisfaction. Just like, I don't know, meat makes me so happy.
Yeah, same. And yeah, I mean, it's a big change for me too. You know, I used to cook for a living and you use a million different
A
ingredients
million
in
ingredients.
one dish. So to go from all of that to searing up a steak as the meal, like it saves a lot of time, saves a lot of stress, it saves money. Like it's just all around been so awesome.
It
So
is.
yeah, I thought this has been an awesome conversation. Is there anything else you want to add to help out anybody that's struggling to feed their kids animal based or carnivore?
Yeah, just be patient, especially if this is like a lifestyle that you want. It will take time. So, like I said, it's really about like, okay, if they want pasta 6 days a week, now give it to them four, and then eventually two. And like, just know that it takes time, and eventually you will get there. Like where I'm at with my kids, like it does kind of make me smile inside that most of their meals they are eating mostly animal based. And that just makes me feel good because I know that they're getting the good nutrition and they're staying away from the junk, and that just makes me feel really good. So take your time with it. Both Courtney and I are on our year mark. Mine's about to come up, but just trying to navigate that. And even me, like I am introducing more foods. For me, my journey on this was about healing my stomach and figuring out the foods that were triggering like just my stomach issues. And I really feel like I've gotten to the bottom of that. And so for me, like I am adding back other foods. Like I cut out all vegetables. Now I'm having onions, and I do perfectly fine with onions. And I did miss my onions. But it was more about healing. And that's the thing. Like once you just really figure out like how good you feel, let that kind of be your guide. But take time. The kids will take time, but you're in control, and just little by little you can go transitioning to the foods that you want.
I agree. Give yourself grace, take some baby steps, start small. I feel like cutting out seed oils with at least the things you have at home is huge, minimizing that sugar. And yeah, just, try and give them that fatty meat that's really going to be, that's going to be satiable. That's the word I'm looking for. That's really going to satiate them. And yeah, dairy and fruit, like that's all good.
But yeah, and Courtney, you see it well, with me, because I know that you've been doing strict carnivore. But for me, like the protein connection to sugar cravings, it's like it was seriously a game changer. So keep that in mind with your children. If your children are big sugar heads and they always just want the cereal and the junk, Ask yourself, did they have protein today? And look at that connection. So make sure and give your kids that fatty meat, that good protein, and you will see those cereal cravings, all of the junk that they typically want. It's because they're not malnourished. That's why they're wanting all that, because they're genuinely malnourished, they're hungry, and the little sugar, that carb that they're having, that little cereal pack or the muffin pack, it's not filling them. So if there's one change you can make today with your kids, is feed them more protein and watch their sugar and junk cravings dissolve.
Yeah, and
Minimize,
watch,
minimize.
yeah, and watch their behavior change too. I wonder how many kids are diagnosed and medicated for ADHD when it could possibly, be changed and minimized with their diet. I would wonder what their diet looked like
For
for
sure.
sure.
For
Because
sure.
I know
So
it, I notice a difference in my own kids if they do on the rare occasion have a donut compared to 99% of the time when they're having meat and eggs and bacon for breakfast. So
yeah. So Courtney, I would love to have a follow-up in about like 4 more years, 5 more years. See where you're at with your kids. Just it is hard, and really we just want to encourage you moms to, like, even if your kids aren't on board, don't let that bring you down, because clearly you're on this journey for your own health reasons. And it is sad when the people around you don't want to, eat the same, or they don't see it the same way you do. But don't let that discourage you. You're on your own journey, and just do the best that you can. That's my
yeah,
little
I
closing.
agree. And if anyone wants to leave in the comments, like any tips you may have
Yeah,
for
I'll use
others,
mine.
like favorite meal ideas, just anything you have to add to this conversation would be amazing. And
Yeah.
that's all I have for today. I thought it was awesome. Lily, I don't know if you have anything else, but I'm just
Yeah,
so
we
grateful.
just want to hear your feedback. So comment below what resonated with you. What do you identify with? Or even I would love to hear, like, what would be ideal? Like, what would be, and you know what, we might, even by putting out this video, we could even have a part two. If you guys have more questions about like your struggles, we would love to answer those for you. So like just comment that below. Let's hear whatever your struggles with, how you're dealing with it, and just kind of what resonated in this video. What are you identifying, and what are just your goals going forward with your family, and how you want to feed them? We'd love to hear that.
Yes, 100%. We can do a follow-up video going off of what is in the comments. So, yay. Thank you so much for chatting today. This was awesome. Hopefully, it helped everybody. Like, subscribe, all the
Yes, like
things.
and subscribe to both of our pages. I share more animal-based lifestyle things, and Courtney's our carnivore queen with all her recipes and interesting topics on like health and wellness too.
Cholesterol Queen is my new name, apparently.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.